1930, the government erased an entire town. Not evacuated it, not relocated it, erased it. The kind of erasure where maps are redrawn, records vanish, and anyone who remembers is told they're wrong. The town's name was Blackridge, and if you try to find it today, you won't. Not because it was destroyed by fire or flood, but because it was buried alive, on purpose. Blackridge sat in a narrow valley surrounded by mountains that blocked radio signals and sunlight in equal measure. It was a coal town, the kind that existed because something valuable was trapped underground. People were willing to live small, quiet lives to extract it. About 600 residents called it home. They had a school with 2 classrooms, a church that doubled as a town hall, and a hospital barely equipped. Nothing about Blackridge looked unusual. That's why what happened there was so easy to hide. The first complaints came from miners. Headaches that wouldn't go away. A metallic taste that lingered even after eating. Bleeding gums. Doctors blamed dust inhalation, exhaustion, dehydration. Normal risks of mining life. But then the miners started talking about the dreams. Not similar dreams. The same dream. A black tunnel stretching downward, impossibly smooth, with something whispering from the dark. The words were never clear, but the feeling was always the same. Don't go deeper. Within weeks, the symptoms spread beyond the mines. Children complained of ringing in their ears. Women woke up with nosebleeds. Animals refused to go near the shafts. Dogs strained at their leashes and howled at empty entrances as if something inside was calling them. The town doctor recorded unusual neurological responses. Delayed reflexes, sudden aggression, dissociation, but couldn't find a cause. Blood tests showed nothing abnormal. X-rays showed nothing broken. And yet people were deteriorating. The drawings came next. Teachers noticed children sketching the same image over and over. A pit, stick figures standing at the bottom, no faces, just mouths, open wide. Parents assumed it was imagination, stress, rumors spreading among kids. But when children who didn't even know each other began drawing the same thing, adults started whispering too. Then the violence began. A miner attacked his wife in the middle of the night, screaming that she was wearing the wrong face. Another man collapsed at the dinner table, clawing at his eyes, begging for the pressure to stop. One woman wandered into the mine alone and was later found standing perfectly still, neck craned upward, smiling, her jaw dislocated as if she'd been screaming for hours without making a sound. Autopsies revealed massive hemorrhaging in the brain, as though something had compressed their skulls from the inside. No poison, no infection, no known disease. That's when the government arrived. No announcement, no press, just unmarked vehicles rolling in at dawn. Men wearing masks and carrying equipment most townspeople had never seen. Geiger counters clicked constantly, even when pointed at open air. Roads were blocked. Phones went dead. Temporary measures for public safety. People were told evacuation was coming, to pack essentials, to stay calm. But no buses arrived. Instead, concrete trucks did. Federal documents declassified decades later contain a single line that explains everything. Evacuation risks spread beyond controllable parameters. Translation: whatever was happening in Blackridge could not be allowed to leave. The order wasn't to rescue, it was to seal. Mine entrances were the first to go. Shafts were filled with cement until the earth itself rejected more. Ventilation tunnels were crushed. Roads leading out of town were collapsed with controlled detonations. Then came the buildings. Dirt and stone were poured over homes, shops, the school, the church. Entire blocks disappeared beneath layers of earth. People were still inside. Soldiers reported knocking from below the ground for days, sometimes scratching, sometimes rhythmic pounding, like a signal. One testified years later that he heard singing underground, low, coordinated, almost ceremonial. Another said they weren't screaming. They were chanting. Orders were strict. No digging, no rescue. Complete the seal. By the time it was finished, Black Ridge was gone. Officially, 600 people never existed. Birth certificates were deleted, census data corrected, death records never filed. Families outside the valley received form letters explaining that their relatives had died in an industrial accident and that remains could not be recovered. When some demanded answers, they were visited. An abandoned town, a ghost story, a myth told by locals who lived near the valley but never went close. But the ground never behaved like normal ground. Geological surveys conducted years later showed a massive cavity beneath the burial site. It was expanding. Satellite imagery from the 1970s revealed thermal anomalies beneath the site. Heat, movement, slow, deliberate shifts under layers of rock and concrete. Too organized to be geothermal, too large to be human. When scientists flagged the readings, monitoring was classified, then quietly discontinued. Locals still talk about interference, compasses spinning for no reason, radios whispering names late at night, phones draining instantly when pointed toward the valley, and sometimes subtle vibrations in the soil, as if something beneath the earth is adjusting its position, making room. Theories vary. Some say it was toxic gas. Others believe drilling awakened something prehistoric. A few think it wasn't a creature at all, but a signal. Something that doesn't attack the body directly. Something that listens, that presses against the mind, that makes people open their mouths and hear things they were never meant to hear. In 1978, the government returned one last time. Another layer of concrete was poured. Thicker, deeper, final. After that, monitoring stopped. Not because it was safe, but because it was contained enough. Black Ridge remains buried to this day. Not abandoned, not destroyed, just sealed. Because whatever was down there wasn't buried to kill it. It was buried to keep it listening. And sometimes, late at night, the ground still breathes.